What's up, guys? It's Bicha Lunga back again with another video, and today I will be sharing with you a topic that not many people talk about. Basically, this is just a discussion one would have with one friend or two friends or whatever the case, but it's not something that many people talk about. So I'll ultimately be talking about why forward players are more regarded than defensive players, because even if you look at the whole aspect behind the game, if I have conversations with a certain amount of friends, they'll tell me, oh no, this guy is the one who got the goal, so he single-handedly made the team win, all that stuff. So yeah, let's get right into the video. Yeah, so my name is Walia Chailunga. Basically, I share content based on football and everything you need to know about the game professionally with our professional players that are already out there, and things that will ultimately make you improve your game as a bowler. Like I said, I'll be talking about why forward players are more regarded than the defensive players, when in actual fact both sets of players are supposed to be looked at in the same bracket, right? Because every single player on the pitch is important. There's not this player who's more important than the other, or that player more important than this player, that kind of thing. So every position really matters. Even the goalie matters, as he's as important as every single player who's on that pitch. So yeah, most people will pretty much be like, oh, okay, look, the guy is the one who scored the goal, so he's the one who has to get all the credit and all that stuff. So I think football is one of those sports where if a team doesn't win the game, then they're looked at as pretty much everyone else has messed up, you know what I mean? So most of the times, the players who get the goals are the ones who are the frontliners, the guys who are up front to pretty much provide the goal scoring abilities that the team will ultimately be able to use to their advantage to win the game. So I think that respect comes in as a thing for supporters, because they're just like, okay, look, this guy is the one who got the goal, so he's the one who deserves the most respect in the team, and he's the one who has to get himself all the praise and all that stuff. But let's not forget, there's players like Van Dijk. We've got so many great defenders, Sergio Ramos, all these other really great players. Not one time I've ever seen, I don't think Sergio Ramos has ever been like in a top 10 Ballon d'Or running. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not entirely sure, but if you look at it, think about it, Sergio Ramos is one of the greatest defenders. Heck, top 4, he's supposed to be like even in the top 4 of the Ballon d'Or running. I don't think he's ever reached those kinds of heights, and the guy has been amazing. Like, that's one of the greatest center backs in the history of the game, if you ask me. We've got the Beckenbauers, we've got all these other great center backs. We've got Ronald Koeman, who was also a really great center back. He's really known for his goal scoring abilities. The guy was insane up front. Like, he could get the goals. Obviously, most of those goals would come from corner kicks, maybe, or some from free kicks. Maybe he was good at set pieces as well. But he's one of the great players to have ultimately scored the most goals as a defender, Ronald Koeman. So that's amazing to actually have as a defender, of course, because people, like I said, they regard the goals as the most important aspect of the game, when in actual fact that's not the case, right? That's not how it's supposed to be, especially for the players who get to play. If you understand football, if you understand the whole essence of the game, you're going to know that, okay, every single player on that pitch deserves all the praise that they can possibly get, and they deserve to be at the top of every game, and every single position matters at the highest level. They definitely deserve all the praise as well. So yeah, these are just a couple of players that I've mentioned. Daniel Alves, great right back. He's also someone who is supposed to be considered as one of the greatest, but there's very little talk as far as defenders are concerned. So which is quite alarming for me anyway, personally, because I play football as well, and I'm more of a forward player. I play like right wing or left wing.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
And I normally like to get the goals as well and all that stuff. But what about the rest of our players, the guys who are doing the defensive work, the guys who are keeping the clean sheets, the guys who are ensuring that we do not concede goals that will ultimately make us lose the game. You get what I mean? So yeah, all those things to actually put into consideration and pretty much just like think about. Back to the whole issue of having players who are looked at as, who are underrated because they play at the back. So many players who play defensively are very strong, and we've got goalkeepers as well. In vital moments of the game, you find that the game has gone to penalties, and then of course that's when they get the praise. Unfortunately, that's pretty much the only time when they're able to like be given all that praise and stuff. But even where the Ballon d'Or is concerned, like I said, it's very rare that you're going to see a keeper is running. Maybe he'll be in like third or in fourth place. I don't know, maybe it's just this generation or something, but I think even just in the history of the game, there have been very, very few goalkeepers who've sat at the top. But we've had so many great keepers over the years. We've had Edwin van der Sar, we've had Manuel Neuer. I think he came third at some point, if I'm not mistaken. He must have been able to be third. He must have been able to come third at the Ballon d'Or running. So that was amazing, of course. And then we've got Gigi Buffon. We've got David De Gea. He's also a really great keeper. And we've got so many great keepers. There's Alisson, there's Ederson. So many great keepers who are not really talked about at that magnitude, and it's supposed to be a different topic altogether. You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be put in a completely different bracket as far as them being able to do all these things. So another thing that I think most of these defensive or goalkeepers are underrated for the most part, and looked at as really important players in the game, is because sometimes they don't really have much to do in the match, especially if they're a really good team, right? If you're part of a really great squad, the chances of you doing a lot of work are reduced. So most of the time the boys in the other teams you're pressing so much that the ball possession. Look at the way Man City knock the ball around and everything. So it just looks like the backliners are not really relevant in the game anymore for the most part, because the boys barely coming in their own half, and they're really just, they're steady and they just pretty much stand there waiting for the opposition to come at them. But because the midfield is well controlled, and there's so many great midfielders who are also quite underrated, and that's also quite unfortunate. But of course, because then they're more in an offensive position, they're also regarded to be really great players as compared to people who, like I said, at the back, they don't really get much praise. So that's quite unfortunate in that aspect. But if you're a team like Man City, if you're a team like Liverpool, okay, the Premier League is tough. The Premier League is a very difficult league. Yeah, we can talk about the Portuguese league. We can talk about the Serie A. We can talk about Ligue 1. I think it also depends on which league you're playing, because the leagues that are highly regarded are the English Premier League and the Spanish La Liga, and also the Bundesliga for the a little bit. They're in the mix. They're there. You know what I mean? They're actually there and everything, but they only get specific clubs in those respective leagues. But if you look at the Portuguese league, they're a bit behind. If you look at the Ligue 1, they're also slightly behind, and that's why they don't really look at players from those leagues, because they're not as strong as these top three leagues, if you ask me. And the Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, and the Premier League. These four leagues, if you're playing in these leagues, the chances of you being regarded as the greatest player or whatever the case, you can reach crazy heights if you're in these leagues in particular. So there's that aspect, and then there's also the issue of the whole goals thing. So when you're playing in these leagues, the competition is quite high, but for the most part, if you're playing for a strong club defensively, unless you're playing Champions League football, that's when things are actually tighter, like it's harder for you to be not defending for the most part, because every team is so deadly. They've got great offensive players who will come at you 5-6 times in a game, maybe even more than that, and it gets quite intense, especially in the middle of the park. So if you're a midfielder, it's all about who is going to win the ball and take it forward, right? So whoever does that the best will pretty much have the upper hand of the game, because the midfield is literally the heart of the team. It literally is the heart of the team. So I've said this before in one of my videos. So yeah, if you've got a strong team, the chances of defenders not doing much are high, but that also kind of puts them in a position where they'll not really be considered as the greatest players or the players who will be running for the Ballon d'Or, stuff like that, they will not really be put in that bracket, which is very, very unfortunate. You know, you can talk about Van Dijk. Van Dijk had a really great season, I think, in the 2019 season, if I'm not mistaken, and he was beaten to the Ballon d'Or by Messi. I love Lionel Messi. Like, for me, he's the greatest player of all time. I've mentioned this in my video before, and I think he deserves the world. You know what I mean? He's literally what football is. But you know, it was quite unfortunate because Van Dijk played exceptionally well. He did literally everything. The guy did everything. I think they just missed the Premier League by a point or two that year. But then they were so exceptional. The guy was so brilliant at the back. He was so strong. Everything, like every single game that he played was given 100%. You know, maybe I've exaggerated a little bit, but you know, majority of his games, he had a 90% great season. Like, he was, I think he should have won the Ballon d'Or that year. I genuinely think he should have got it. But of course, there are other aspects of the game that they look at as far as statistics and, you know, stuff like that. So which is why this is why it's kind of difficult for you to know whether a defender is you know, regarded as one of the important players as such, or it's just mainly about the frontline players who get the goals. So yeah, that's just how it is, and that's just how football is, unfortunately. But we just have to cope with the way the situation is, and that's my take on the whole thing. I personally feel like defenders should be getting more praise. They should be looking at their statistics more. They should be put in the light as well, as much as, you know, the forward players are also put as, you know, regarded as one of the most important players on the pitch. So yeah, I mean, if you've reached this far in my video, thank you for coming this far. If you are not subscribed, kindly subscribe to my video and comment down below your thoughts on this piece of information that I've shared. Give me your thoughts on what you think about this whole thing of frontliners being more important than the defensive players, and, you know, all that stuff. So thank you for watching. If you are subscribed, thank you for being subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, kindly subscribe to my channel. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.